gamers all around the world? I am back with another video and a hair color that's a tiny bit different. Expect a lot more hair colors over the next week or two. That's all I'm gonna say. It's Subathon. I'm live right now during the Subathon, and one of the goals was to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the variant civs compared to their original civs. So we've been seeing a lot of, pre-release of the civs, we've been seeing a lot of like, oh, the variant civs are basically same as the original civs, they're just an upgrade, or they're just a weaker version of the original civ, which not many people said that, except maybe OOTD. But basically everyone thinks that they're just a straight up upgrade. So I am here to talk about, if you're maybe a French player main and you're like, okay, well, should I play JD or should I play French? Or when do I pick JD and when do I pick French? So I'm here to talk about that and give you guys some insight, because I've been live right now on Twitch for 12 days straight, 24 hours a day. And I feel like I've played a decent amount and understand the civs a little bit more. We're going to talk about the 4 variants. Obviously, we're not going to talk about Japanese and Byzantines because they're not variants, they're just new civs. So let's start with French, since I used it as an example. So what are the main differences between French and Jeanne d'Arc? Well, both civs are reliant on opening with knights and doing some kind of harassment, but French is a civ that, in my opinion, should always try to get a second TC into pressure, or at least most of the time, because you get workers that produce faster, so you can actually boom while attacking at the same time, and you can boost your and grow your economy quite a bit. French is also a civ that can, has a little bit of an easier time going around the map and picking up food because your mills are a bit cheaper, not the biggest difference. Other than that, French, I would say, funnily enough, is the more long-term macro version of between Jeanne d'Arc and French. The reason I say that is, if you want to play, if you're wondering, do I play French or Jeanne d'Arc? If you're playing against civilizations where you can put some pressure on, or you want to put pressure on because they might age up too quickly, but you want to keep up with the economy and potentially go later in the game, French is a lot better than Jeanne d'Arc. The difference why you can pick Jeanne d'Arc is if you're going to fight against your opponent in feudal. So when I say fight against your opponent, I don't mean attack them in their base like against China or against, I don't know, HRE. I would pick French against civs like China. I would pick French against civs like maybe even Jushi's Legacy, against Holy Roman Empire, against Order of the Dragon. I would pick French preferably, because those civs tend to stand back and you can go for your second TC, and then you can go knights to dive in and do damage. But against civs that have a more immediate impact on the map, such as perhaps like Ayyubids, such as English, such as Delhi, such as maybe even, not maybe even, but Mongol or Ottoman, I would choose Jeanne d'Arc. The reason for that, and against Abbasid I would probably do French as well. The reason for that, or actually against Abbasid you could do both. The reason for that is Delhi goes for very early Sacred Site, and with Jeanne d'Arc, the best counterplay against her is to not fight her at all and not give her levels. But civs such as Delhi, they have to go on the map to get Sacred Sites, so by going out on the map, you're fighting, and then the Jeanne d'Arc player can level their hero. And unironically, if you're playing Delhi into Jeanne d'Arc, you should probably go 2 town centers and try to rush castle and not fight her at all. And skip Sacred Sites in feudal. That's what I would do. Same thing if you're playing Mongol. Mongol tower rushing Jeanne d'Arc is good, but remember, by you tower rushing Jeanne d'Arc, once the tower goes down and the spearmen go down, you give her a lot of experience. So in general, if there's going to be a feudal fight where your opponent will most likely go for it, choose Jeanne d'Arc. If you're playing against more passive civs and the game is likely to extend past a certain point, I would say choose French. Regarding, like, I guess, late game, both civs play pretty similarly. The one thing that I would say is Jeanne d'Arc compared to French, like, French kind of has to be played with knight archer, knight crossbow, because that's the strength of it. You don't have a hero. But if you're playing Jeanne d'Arc, I've had very good success with just going spearman crossbow or man-at-arm crossbow, because the Civ is not reliant on doing like immediate damage, immediate rating. You can kind of take it a bit more chill and level up your hero, and then do a timing with level 3 hero with man-at-arms, with their summon stuff and all that. So there it is. And also Jeanne d'Arc is better against Civs that have really strong crossbows and rely on crossbows, such as Jushi's Legacy. In theory, you want to play French for earlier stages, but in the late game, Jushi's Legacy does not have hand cannoneers, they have crossbows. And Jeanne d'Arc, one of her levels is to spawn horsemen and deal bonus damage against crossbows, and those horsemen can also be produced from keeps. So something to have in mind regarding that. So that is probably the most, I would say, similar original Civs to a variant Civ. I would say the main difference is like how fast you want to boom and how aggressive the game will be. Holy Roman Empire to OOTD. So I have played obviously a metric crap ton of Holy Roman Empire, and I have played Order of the Dragon the most out of the new Civs, I would say. So HRE does a lot better job rushing castle. So a lot of people have attempted to play OOTD like rush castle like HRE. It does not work quite as well because OOTD economy is worse, significantly worse from HRE. So rushing castle and picking up relics like HRE is not really a thing. So if you're playing HRE and you want to try OOTD and you're like, when do I play which one? Because a lot of players play the variant Civs like that. They want to like main French plus Jeanne d'Arc, right? They don't want to main French and English. Order of the Dragon is, the best way to describe it, the archer version of HRE. So their units are very strong, like HRE's units. You can go for castle rushes, but they are going to be delayed. HRE relies on basically either going 2 TC, skipping feudal into castle, and then making knights or strong men-at-arms, or 1 TC into castle into fast imperial. Okay, that's usually how you play HRE, and HRE is a lot better on water and hybrid maps because of the early prelate. Okay, OOTD, you do not want to play on water maps or hybrid maps because their economy is weaker. So all the reasons why HRE is stronger on hybrid maps, OOTD is not. One thing, as I'm mentioning that, French and Jeanne d'Arc, if you're a French main and you want to play only French and Jeanne d'Arc is actually not bad on hybrid maps because you can get level 2 in Dark Age. And you can actually use Jeanne d'Arc to defend your docks and stuff. So Jeanne d'Arc is not bad on hybrid maps. I'm not going to say it's good, but considering French is obviously really bad on hybrid maps, Jeanne d'Arc is a big improvement. So back to OOTD and HRE. So if you want to rush castle, go for 2 TC into castle rushes, pick up relics into fast imperial, and then mass men-at-arms or mass horsemen men-at-arms, mass spearmen, horsemen men-at-arms. HRE is the option. If you're playing OOTD, my favorite opener with them is to, if you want to play similar to old HRE, or to HRE, to open with stables and open with a couple of horsemen to be able to do harassment because it forces your opponent to do spearmen. You cannot defend horsemen with just knights, you're going to have a bad time. And then after that, I like to go into archer range, make a couple of archers, do a little bit of a delayed age up, and then you get access to gilded knights. Your archers get even better upgrades. And from then on out, you just have very strong map presence and strong units. Now, OOTD is more for feudal fighting and for just harassing, like opening as a harassment options. So if I'm playing against, you know, one of the more passive Civs and you cannot rush castle against them for some reason, I would probably choose OOTD to have some kind of harassment and attacking options. Another reason to play OOTD, by the way, I mean, it's similar to HRE. You can do 2 TC with them. It's a lot more expensive and it takes a little bit longer to kick in, but you can do 2 TC with them. As far as the late game goes, your unit comp will not be, you know, what I usually like to do with mass men-at-arm and then like just rams and horsemen everywhere. I found out that the best way to play Order of the Dragon in the late game is go for Spearman, Man-at-Arm, Lance Connect mix with a lot of archers and hand cannoneers. I found out that from playing, making horsemen in the late game with OTD will drain your food extremely fast. To the point where I had games with 60 workers and I still had no food because I was making horsemen from like 6 stables. Because each horseman is 200 food, so they're very, very expensive. So that's kind of it. So I guess the main difference between them, H3 is better at water maps and castle rushing, while Order of the Dragon is better at early fighting, is better for more aggressive play, for harassment options. But obviously, they also have different styles in how you fight with the enemy and which units you use. So you can kind of make that adjustment. The next one we're going to talk about is, let's do China and Jushi's Legacy. So initially, a lot of people thought Jushi's Legacy is basically like better China, or why would you ever play China, stuff like that. And now that I've played more of Jushi's Legacy, I have a better understanding. And Jushi's Legacy, compared to China, China loses to HRE because HRE rushes castles super quickly and there's not much that China can do, and then the Man-at-Arms spam is pretty hard to deal with, yada yada. Jushi Legacy, I think, actually counters HRE quite a bit, and the reason for that is there's the Bald Monk build, aka the Shaolin Monk rush, where you rush Castle Age extremely quickly because of your Tang Dynasty, where your age up is quicker. So you can age up to castle really fast, and you can actually take the relics before HRE. So that's kind of interesting. So actually the best castle rushing civ right now is Jushi's Legacy and not HRE. So if you want to go around and take the relics and the 9 from your opponent, that's the civ to go for. Now, China is a more macro version of Jushi's Legacy in terms of how fast their economy grows. But at the same time, even though you have Song Dynasty and you're producing more villagers, there is an advantage to Jushi's Legacy, and that is they can transition to farms a lot quicker. Because of their Song Dynasty that reduces the cost of the farms and granaries, they can transition to farms a lot quicker. But you lack Barbican. So if I were to choose when to play China, when to play Jushi's Legacy, I do think that China is better on water maps, a lot better on water maps. I do think that China is a lot better on hybrid maps. The reason for that is they have the Imperial Academy, which is big because you can make Imperial officials from them. And Jushi's Legacy has to sacrifice workers in order to make Imperial officials. And obviously Barbican against more aggressives is very, very strong. Barbican is also strong on the maps where you can block huge parts of the map off, like King of the Hill. If you Barbican in the middle, Jushi Legacy cannot do that. Now, Jushi Legacy has access to Zuginu and Palace Guards in Feudal, which is actually not that big of a deal because with China you always unlock Zuginu anyway, and you don't really go Palace Guards with Jushi in Feudal anyway. Regarding their castle, it's more or less played the same with Palace Guard, Spearman, Crossbow, Zuginu. Not much changes there. The major differences, I would say, are in the different styles that your economy booms, in the defensiveness, better defensiveness of China compared to Jushi's Legacy. Jushi Legacy is more active. Jushi Legacy rushes castle faster, and obviously China has a lot better siege. So the reason why they have better siege is because of the Clockwork Tower, which makes a massive difference. This is quite noticeable when you play Jushi's Legacy. Your Nest of Bees get 2 shot by Springles, your Springles get 2 shot by Springles, which is massive because with China, if you produce Nest of Bees from Clockwork Landmark, it takes 3 Springle shots to kill them. If you produce Springles from the Clockwork, it takes 3 shots to kill them. So China's siege is a lot stronger, in my opinion. Now, Jushi's Legacy has the landmark that increases the range on their bombard units. It's not bombard units. What is it called? Gunpowder units. Right. Which includes Nest of Bees and bombard. So you can toggle it on so it increases range by 1. I personally think, as cool as that is, I would prefer to have siege with more HP than having them with one range, because it becomes a lot harder to deal with it, and especially Castle Nest of Beasts from China are very, very strong. And with Jushi's Legacy, the difference is so massive that players often completely skip siege with Jushi's Legacy in Castle because of lack of the Clockwork landmark. And then in Imperial, so their styles in Castle are similar minus the siege. And then in Imperial, this is where the real shift happens in terms of play styles. So Jushi Legacy does not have Fire Lancers. Now, they can upgrade in one of the landmarks for their horsemen to have a Fire Lancer attack, but they do not have Fire Lancer torch damage, which is what Fire Lancers are all about. So, with that being said, there are many, this is where these two differentiate the most. So first things first is Fire Lancers. Jushi Legacy does not have them. So that thing where you spam Fire Lancers and you go around burn buildings, not really a thing with Jushi's Legacy. Number two, Jushi's Legacy Spearmen are stronger if you upgrade that thing, because then your Spearmen have the charge attack with the Fire Lance, which is actually quite strong, because your Spearmen will always go head first into the enemy. Then, Jushi's Legacy does not have hand cannoneers, and this is very, 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 and probably the biggest major difference. Hand cannoneers from China are the strongest hand cannoneers in the game because they have extra range. Yeah, Jushi Legacy has no archers too, that is true, but with China you only really make archers against English in feudal, so yeah, there's that too. But not having hand cannoneers is massive because Chinese hand cannoneers are insanely good. And with Jushi's Legacy, you have to go for the 10,000 bolts upgrade in their Jushi Library landmark, I think it's called. And your hand cannoneers in the late game are actually your crossbows, which is very, very important. Your army comp with Jushi's Legacy and Imperial is Palace Guards and crossbows. Now, you do have access to Grenadiers the moment you age up in age 4, where China does not have, but Grenadiers are usually very, very expensive, and if you lose them, you're not going to have a good time. And last but not least, the siege pushes that China has in Imperial with like 5-6 Next of Bees and 5-6 Bombards are not as strong with Jushi's Legacy. So I would say those are the main differences between the two civs. And obviously, like I said earlier, Jushi's Legacy has a lot faster castle age up and can rush castle to get the relics. Also, they have unique cavalry. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. They have unique cavalry in Imperial Guards. So if you want to go for some kind of, like, if you have infinite gold and food with Jushi's Legacy, you can create a lot stronger cavalry comp with Imperial Guards plus crossbows, or Imperial Guards, Palace Guards, something like that. So yeah, on the other side, China can go for unit comps such as Palace Guards Fire Lancers, which is cavalry infantry, but it completes a different goal than this one. The last big difference between Chinese and Jushi's Legacy is the Imperial Guards. So if you want to go for Imperial Guards crossbow or Imperial Guards Palace Guard combo, that's pretty good to do. Maybe even Imperial Guards Grenadier if you're super rich. And on the other side, if you want to do like cavalry infantry style, Fire Lancers plus Spearmen or Palace Guards are the way to go. And the last one is Abbasid and Ayyubid. Now these two are, I thought they're going to be the most similar actually, but I thought after playing them that they are nothing alike. Now, where do we start? Abbasid is 100% the more macro version of these two, 100%. If you want to go for your 2TC standard unit comp into some mangonels and do a push, Abbasid is for you, okay? Abbasid also has a lot easier time transitioning to the food economy. Abbasid plays with more villagers. Now, if that's, you know, some people consider that boring, right? They don't like it. If you still like using your Lancers, Abbasid is to go for you, and very infantry-based style with some camels in Imperial and hand cannoneers. This is a civ for you. Nothing changes. And if you also like to trade, Abbasid is the better civ out of the two. So what is Ayyubid better in? Well, the funny thing is, Ayyubid is way better at being unpredictable, right? Abbasid is pretty straightforward. If you see Eco Wing, you know what to expect. If you see Trade Wing, you know there's going to be trade. If you see Military Wing, okay, they're going to have 15% extra HP from boot camp. Ayyubid is all about having like wild wing choices, being unpredictable, and actually being aggressive. So recently there's been a build with Gamba Wing, of course, aka the Bazaar Wing, where you go for the Bazaar Wing and then you buy the economy units, you buy the military units, and that is your second TC. You basically pray that you get villagers and traders in, and if you get traders, you produce a market and you kind of start trading a little bit. But what you do is you make camel desert raiders immediately, and not only you can fight against the cavalry civs knights if you transfer them to melee mode, you can also harass enemy villagers with the archers. So Ayyubids is definitely the more aggressive out of the two, the less economical, but way more trickier than the two. And without going too much into detail, I 100% believe that Abbasid is way better in the late game. The reason for that is Ayyubid economy is a lot weaker. They're missing a lot of House of Wisdom upgrades that Abbasid has that makes them strong in the late game. Ayyubid also technically is supposed to have stronger camels, but the funny part about Ayyubid is their best unit comp is actually mass infantry. And the reason why mass infantry is the way to go with Ayyubids as well is they have an upgrade in blacksmith that every time your unit, one unit, infantry, kills an enemy unit, it gets 25% damage and 20% movement speed for 10 seconds. So why is this good for Ayyubid? Well, in Imperial, your perfect unit comp is actually Ghulams, Desert Raiders, and then mass hand cannoneers. Because the moment a hand cannoneer kills a unit, it receives 25% damage and it just starts blasting super hard. Now, why is, you know, when you hear that, you're like, oh my god, that's OP. Why is that? Why are they bad then? Well, their farming equi is a lot weaker. They cannot get wood through trade like Abbasid can because they get that from House of Wisdom upgrade. And in general, just the strength because of those things for Ayyubids is a lot weaker in the late game. Now, and also Abbasid gets 30% more gold from the upgrade from the trade too. Now, Ayyubids, like I said, is a trickier civ. There are a lot of mechanics that can kind of change the game in the moment, from the Bazaar Wing to, you know, opening with Economy Wing where it gives you like extra 3 villagers straight away, to if you age up to Imperial or post-Imperial with Military Wing, you can get Desert Raiders, 7 of them every 2 minutes, which might not seem like a lot, but it is quite a bit. And Desert Raiders, they actually have with fully upgraded, and if they have the infantry support upgrade. So Abbasid has an upgrade where camels give infantry buff, and Ayyubids have the opposite. Their infantry gives their camels a buff. So their Desert Raiders in Imperial with all the upgrades will have 12 melee armor and 5 ranged armor, which is quite insane. Yeah, you also have the big tower she tells you not to worry about, which is okay, not a big deal, but that's kind of it. Regarding water maps or hybrid maps, Abbasid wasn't terrible on pure water maps. On hybrid maps, Abbasid was atrocious. Ayyubids, one of the most broken civs currently. We're now in November of 2023. I don't know when you're going to be watching this video. So some or a lot of these things might change. But Ayyubids, one of the strongest civs on the water maps. And the reason for that is they have Gamba Wing, or potentially even better, they have the Culture Wing, which makes you age up 45 seconds faster or 43 seconds faster, and it's 40% cheaper. So it is very strong. So Ayyubids are better if you're a trickier gamer, if you like to spice it up. Their camel play technically is better. They have a lot worse economy. Their macro is a lot weaker, but they're a lot stronger in feudal aggression. They're a lot better at rushing castle, and cheesing people with Kulams because of that culture wing. So if you want to play Abbasid on water or hybrid, go with Ayyubids. And that's going to be it. That is my video regarding the main differences between the original and the variation civs. I hope you guys learned something new, and I hope that if you are, you know, a one-trick pony playing only Abbasid or only Japanese, or Chinese, sorry, or French or Holy Roman Empire, and you want to learn the variant but you're not quite sure where to play it, I hope this helps you quite a bit in making those decisions. And instead of, you know, playing Abbasid and having to veto all water maps, now you don't need to veto any maps, and whenever you get a water map, you can pick Ayyubids. So yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you guys so much for watching. Check me out on Twitch. I'm probably live right now, as I always am. Twitch gamers, let's keep going.